I travelled to Tokyo, Japan in search of my dream salvage car to rebuild. I did tons of exploring and I ended up at one of the largest salvage auctions, and I learned a lot about the salvage scene over in Japan. I ended up winning the 2024 Porsche Taycan Turbo S, which was fully spec'd out. I also won some other cars, so if you want to see them, go check out my video travelling to Japan. I then had my cars shipped in from Tokyo, Japan all the way to Liverpool in the UK, and after picking up my cars, I managed to get them back to the Essen garage, but we ran into some issues on this Porsche. After doing some diagnosing, I found the 12-volt LiPo battery was completely flat, there was no output, and there was tons of crash data stored. Now these cars will never drive with that crash data in place, so I used my diagnostic tool to reset that crash data, and that's how I got the car to move under its own power, but I realized we've got major damage. In the last video, I began tearing down the damage. I wanted to see exactly what was broken, make a parts list, and make an assessment of just how bad the damage was. With my part list in hand, I started doing some research, and it's safe to say rebuilding a Porsche Taycan is not going to be cheap. And that's just the tip of the iceberg for the parts that I need for this car. So I've put it on the back burner.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Now I've been holding out and I got that call that I've been waiting for. One of my subscribers told me that he's got some parts that I might be interested in for a Porsche Taycan just like this. So I drove 2 hours, went to see him, and I picked up a whole ton of parts. So I finally got enough parts to make a start on the Porsche, and the goal for this video is to get it driving properly. So I'm starting by stripping down all of these damaged parts. The suspension is completely jacked. Oh no. So ever since I got the car, I knew that this top Finch area was damaged. I knew that the air suspension was broken, but I've just noticed this. Oh my gosh, like that's the hub. 800 quid for one hub. Just look how horrible this all looks. And the size of this brake caliper, man. I've got big hands, these are both my hands, and I still can't cover this thing. I'm a bit, dare I say, intimidated. Don't even know where to start. Now that I know I need to remove the hub, I guess I better start with removing the brake caliper. So I'm removing this massive brake caliper, and not only is it big, but it is heavy. Wow. Boys, I never knew carbon ceramic brakes were this light. Literally had to get everything brand new for this build. Now because everything is damaged and it's not in its correct position, it increases the tension, so removing all of these damaged parts has proven a little bit tricky. And guys, there you have it. It's actually looking a lot worse than I first expected. With all the damaged suspension parts removed, this is what we're left with, and it's left me with a dilemma. Boys, I'm thinking, I've got the suspension parts, I've got the top chassis Finch that I need to change. However, I'm still waiting for glue, rivets, and some other materials to complete the chassis job. Do I wait for materials to come in, or do I fit the suspension, get the car running, and take this thing for a little rip? You know what I'm gonna do. It's only right I double check that everything on the car is functioning fully, right? So I'm fitting the replacement suspension parts, and then I ran into another issue. It appears that the lower subframe has shifted, and this could mean that I need to buy a new subframe at the tune of £1,111.
So do them bolts up now.
And it should all line up.
Bolt straight back up again.
So luckily, before purchasing the new subframe, I called in a second opinion, and it turns out the subframe has some room for adjustment, and it had only shifted. So once I loosened up all the bolts, pulled it back to the correct position, everything lined up perfectly, thank God. So with all new suspension components fitted, it's time to activate the air ride system. And to do this, I need to use my Porsche diagnostic software. There's a specific function to refill a replacement air strut, and unless you go through this process, the system will remain deactivated. Can hear the pump? Yep. Replacement strut has now been filled with the right pressure of air, and now it's time to drop the car down and hopefully the system works. But there's more frustrations in store. After replacing the air strut and the height leveling sensor, I'm still getting that dreaded chassis failure, and I can't make any changes to the ride height. So the following morning, I'm back and I want to do some diagnosing to find out why my air suspension isn't working. I'm hoping that I don't have to spend an enormous amount of money to fix this system. On the diagnostics, I'm getting a code for an open circuit on the front right ride height sensor, and I found that was broken. I replaced it with a like-for-like part, but I'm still having the dreaded chassis failure. So guys, it's been a very frustrating couple of days with the suspension on the Porsche, but I think I found the issue. I had a broken ride height sensor, I ordered a replacement. It was the same part number, however, it had AA at the end of the part number. I thought it might have been the same, it came from the same year, same car, but for some reason Porsche uses a different sensor based on the model. So the model that one came from was a 4S, this is a Turbo S, so apparently the Turbo S has its own sensor. Anyway, that AA at the end of the replacement sensor meant that the internals was incorrect. Massive shout out to one of my subscribers called Chester. He's on Instagram. He works in a parts store and he's been giving me lots of information on that. So he was able to confirm that both part numbers are incorrect, and that's why I was getting an open circuit. I've reconnected my original one and the open circuit has disappeared. The original height sensor is intact, the body of it is intact, it's just a little lever arm that's broken. So that tells me that I need to get the correct part number without the AA, and hopefully it should all work. And a few days later, a replacement part showed up with the matching part number. I fitted it to the car, completed all the calibration, and the system is fully working. Massive relief on that. And another huge relief is this. If you remember in the last video, I showed you how I had to remove the battery, send it off to get reprogrammed. My boy Dennis from Lux Automotive over in London, we managed to reprogram my original battery. I've got it back into the car, and let me show you why I'm so happy. To get the car running, I had to rig up this regular lead acid battery. I've got a positive, and I ran this wire all the way to the top. It's no longer connected. I had that connected up here, and then I had this negative earthed to the chassis, and I had that on the battery like so. But I've been able to remove that, and now the car is running from its original battery, which is right here. And I've got my little tester here. I just want to show you the voltage that it's outputting from that battery. Right, get you guys to sit there. If I go negative, positive, I'm getting a constant output of 13.3 volts, which means that my cells were always good. It just needed reprogramming to get the BMS out of emergency shutdown mode. So managed to get that sorted, and now I've saved myself over 500 quid. So I'm happy about that. So since this car came from Japan, I've not been able to drive it. Yeah, buddy. And it's fair to say I am super gassed. Here's the system going up and down when you press the button, confirmation that the air suspension is fully functional, and the warning message has disappeared. With the replacement suspension fitted, the wheel is sitting dead straight and it's in the correct position. Now whilst I was out, a delivery came, but I'll show you what's in the boxes later on. Listen boy, she's torquey. Oh, and it's weird not hearing an engine, but she's driving. Cameras are working on the back, no camera on the front because it's not plugged in. Needs a bit of tracking, but she's driving, and that's the most important thing. Okay, first drive in the Taycan complete. Let's get back to work. So the first package that turned up today was a replacement glass for this driver's side door. So I'm being as careful as I can. I do not want to cause any damage to the door card. I need to access the window mechanism, clear out all the broken glass, and replace it with the new one. With the replacement glass fitted, just had to do some quick tests before moving on to the front end. So this is the first time I've removed the front bumper on the Porsche and I found more damaged components. So apart from all of that, I've just noticed that these 3 plugs are disconnected, and I can see obviously these 2 look to be in good condition, but this one seems to have popped out. Now, if I'm lucky, I don't know if you can see that, if I'm lucky, I should be able to just remove this retainer clip here, the purple one, feed it back inside, and hopefully it makes the connection. I'm not sure what it's for, but I'm gonna see if I can fix it and see what the diagnostics is saying. Guys, what do you think this is? Obviously, I'm dealing with a Porsche 2024. It's got all sorts of different technology. This clearly plugs into that, and it's just some sort of like an antenna or something, but why would it be in the front bumper? Interesting. If you know what this is, do get in the comments and let me know, please. So that was a quick, easy repair, and it didn't cost me a fortune. Whilst I was there, I went ahead and reset the hinges for the bonnet, and it looks a lot better. Off camera, I realized one of the brake lines was damaged, so I ordered a replacement, and here I am fitting it, because this car has got a lot of ponies, and I don't want any brake failures. Whilst I was changing the brake line, I tried to keep fluid loss to a minimum. That way I'm not introducing air to the system. So all I need to do now is loosen the bleeding nipple and let gravity do its job to just do a mini bleed on the system. I double checked the brake pedal and it was all good. So with all that work completed, I want to see what this thing can do. It's a Porsche Taycan Turbo S, which is one of the top models in the range, and it's boasting around 700 brake, so I want to feel it. Guys, that thing is moving, I'm telling you, it is moving! Gassed! Now, although we're having fun, this is important research and development. I need to make sure that those suspension components are working, and I need to make sure that the car is actually driving as it should. And after a good shakedown, there's no knocks, no bangs, she's sitting perfectly, and if you squint your eyes from the right angle, it's a very sexy looking car, even with all this damage. But getting the car driving is only the first step. I need to tackle all of this mess. And to do that, I need to tear this apart. So on my Porsche, you can see it's got some damage to the top chassis area. But to understand how to repair it, I need to understand how it was made. And for that, we need to head to the Porsche plant in Germany. Now, with the Taycan being an all-electric performance car, one of the key things they wanted to focus on was weight reduction, so the chassis is made up from both high-strength aluminium and steel. Now, these different types of materials are assembled together in different layers, with Porsche utilizing several types of assembly techniques. Some of the panels of the chassis are glued together, whilst others are spot welded or riveted together to make a bond. So now I've got the theory, it's time to put it into action. I picked up this chassis offcut for £800, and using a magnet you can see it sticks to the steel portion but it doesn't to the alley. I'm applying a little heat to remove the seam sealer and expose those rivets and spot welds. I'm repeating this process around the entire portion of the chassis that I'm going to be using, and you can clearly see everything we've learned from the Porsche factory. I'm just gonna go ahead, remove all the screws. I wanna try to get this off, and this is the practice run. If I make a mistake, it's not the end of the world, but when it gets to the car, I will know exactly what I need to do. So I'll stick you on the time lapse, and hopefully I can get this particular piece off. So I used everything I had in my arsenal of tools, and now we've got this thing rocking. She's ready to fall out. So using what I learned from the Porsche factory, I was able to navigate the layers, the screws, the glue, to get the top chassis finch and shock tower removed. It's very light, Ali. You've got the shock tower, and you've got this top chassis finch, and I understand how it goes together. It's all just riveted around there. That blue stuff is the glue there, glue all the way down the main chassis rail. But we have got this bad boy off, and that means all we've got to do is fit it to the Porsche. Easy, right? That was hard work. I've still got to tear down everything engine-wise on this car. I don't know how I'm gonna get on with it, but you can check out how I get on in the next episode. Press the like button if you've enjoyed this episode, and let me know what you think of the car. Let me know what you think of all the work. I will tell you how much I paid for this car from Japan, and I want you to tell me if all of this is worth it. Now guys, I know on this build I was gonna have to do some alley welding, so I've picked up this TIG welder, but I have no clue what I'm doing. If you're watching this and you know how to A, set up this particular TIG welder, let me know. Give me some information, please. If you're local to me on the South Coast, you could give me some pointers. Anything you can do to help with alley welding on this car, please let me know. I'm trying to save every penny I can on this build. Obviously, if I need to, I'll have to get someone in, but it's not even a lot. It's literally just filling in the little spot welds that I've drilled out, but you have to do it. It's alley on alley, and there's 2 tiny beads that we need to weld up on the front of the top chassis arm. You should be seeing it now. But boys, it's been a jam-packed video on the 2024 Porsche Taycan, so I'm gonna wrap this video up now. I'm gonna continue working on my Caddy R builds. We're making great progress on that, so make sure you check that build out as well if you enjoyed my content. So boys, like I always say, keep it moving, and I'll see you in the next one.